Hey everybody, Ropaniganti here, and today we're talking about burnout. Now, if you don't know me or my main channel, I'm a musician and I've been making music videos for 8 years. A lot of them gravitate towards, covers of popular game songs and TV, movie, anime, whatever. And I've been doing this 8 years without a lot of real breaks or stops, almost monthly, sometimes even weekly. And obviously I've experienced burnout. I don't want to make this video all about me or my experiences, though I will talk about them at the end. I want to talk more about other people's experiences that were shared on Twitter recently, as well as kind of culminating in an article written on Game Grooves. Now, I've linked the article in the tweet in the description below, so if you want to check those out, take a look. And I do have to give a huge thank you to Alan, or the writer at Game Grooves, who's allowed me to use his article as a skeleton or script for this video. Again, we're talking about burnout, this creative block, writer's block, whatever you want to call it. And it happens a lot, especially in our niche. Now, burnout can be not being able to come up with a video idea. Or maybe you have one and you're just trying your best to come up with something to make it clever, but it's not happening. Maybe you don't know how to do it, so you're just stuck and you don't know who to ask. So there's all sorts of different reasons why you might even start feeling that, overwhelming sensation, or you just need that break. And honestly, sometimes you will. But when you recognize burnout, I think a lot of other creators will stop outright. They might feel like venting about it. They might push through it. And sometimes that has positive and negative, effects. One thing I want to talk about is the different kinds of pressures that we face, especially in this niche. And one of the most important ways to make this video matter is by commenting, talking about it, share your experiences, respond to any of these points, maybe supply your own advice for how to push through something as arduous as content creation, especially on a schedule. To begin, I'm not going to pick on any of the specific responses because I don't want to, put someone's name out there if they don't want it. But I do have to thank, in general, everyone who responded to these tweets and shared their experiences. Some of you are working for a living in music or content creation, and you have to. You feel the need to get content out immediately, like every week. It has to be out at this time. I got to get the thumbnail done. I've got to record it. The mix has to be, just right and all of that. Then there's people who also do it for, just for fun, but on a pretty serious scale, which I'd like to consider myself a part of, where even though this isn't money I depend on or career by any measure, I'm still putting a lot of work and thought into it because it's really important to me on a personal level. And it's important to a lot of people, especially when you collaborate. Sometimes I'll feel like I have to get this mix right because I really want to make sure it's as good as last week's or my last release. I don't want to disappoint, the audience. Maybe I don't want to disappoint myself. I also sometimes want to impress, the right people so that I can get more opportunities. So all of these little bubbles, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever VFX I use for this, they all start kind of swarming in and they're honing in on you. So you start feeling that little bit of pressure. And then other people are just barely getting into it. They've started making music. I talk to people who are, afraid because they don't think they have what it takes, or sometimes people have told me that they're scared it won't be any good, or they don't know where to start, or they don't know how to use these sophisticated softwares. Maybe they think that it takes more than one person, like a whole team has to be here in order to make it work. And I can tell you from experience that there's so many different styles out there that require all sorts of different kinds of assembly, budget points maybe, depending on your goal, or, anyone can start making music. Like, in Ratatouille, anyone can cook. I think anyone can cover video game music or whatever your particular passion or ambition is. We don't want to burn out. So we need to do something about it. I wanted to share some of the tips that come from Game Grooves' article, and I wanted to kind of, dig in, establish your goals. What does this article mean by that? And how I interpret that is you need to know what you're after. You don't have to know, like, I want to make the best cover with like exactly this number of seconds for the arrangement and the video must be shot in this park. You can literally just take a piece of paper and you know what, everyone take a piece of paper. Write down one of your goals, and I want it to be really, really, really attainable and small at first too. Something that if you're a beginner, maybe you'll say, I want to watch a video on how to record guitar. But maybe you've been doing this for 5 years. So maybe you could say something like, I want to watch a video on how to edit better in Premiere, or how to mix bass better, you know? And slowly you start getting more and more comfortable doing these things because you're just biting on little snacks. I think that's one of those tips that has helped me as well. And one of the answers that I see from a lot of people is that you should establish what you're after first, and then you'll know what you need to do to get there. And if you don't, maybe ask around. There's a lot of people who might share your goals. Now, another tip that comes from the article, as well as a lot of your responses, is learning to prioritize. And I want to take this one and kind of split it in half, because the article tells us to list things that are most important. What is the number one thing you want to focus on? And for me, I think it's guitar and production. I want the guitar to shine, so I put more time into practicing guitar and making that sound great. I know I'm not the best at mixing the whole thing or drum programming, and that doesn't matter because I know what my priority is. Now, the other priority I have, especially right now, and this is a new one, of course, is the video production. I've kind of fallen in love with, videography and visual effects, and it's weirdly therapeutic for me to, take a video and make it funnier, explodier. That's the priority list, and that's where I put most of my time. So mentally, I can just, don't worry, Ro, it doesn't matter if the drums sound good. Your thumbnails are really crappy. This is the second part of that tip. I wanna also emphasize how awesome it is to share the burden of whatever you're working on. You're not alone, collaborate, look for people who can help, outsource the work that you may not want to do that someone else can do. If you're afraid because maybe you're just getting started and you're not too good at anything in this field yet, you can still find people who are willing to help. One of the best things is you can still offer up your services. Maybe you can mix someone's song and in return they video edit. There's all sorts of ways as long as you start a conversation about it. And I have never felt more, comfortable doing this whole thing than when I know someone else is helping in the process. I mean, for this, I'm using someone else's article with permission. Another thing that I think is really dicey is the next step in the article, establish your expectations. What do you expect? If you're a brand new musician or content creator and you're just hopping onto YouTube for the first time, do you really want to sign yourself up to make the next epic viral video no matter what? Some of these things aren't in your control, like who's gonna view your video. And at the end of the day, you can only just do the best you can do. So I think it's great to establish expectations. In 1 week's time, I expect myself to have this very nebulous, ill-defined kind of quality. But if I don't achieve that, I know it's not the end of the world. But I also know that in 1 week's time, I can't make a Shadow Temple video. For those of you wondering what I mean by that, if you see on my main channel, some of the videos are, filmed over like a couple of days. There's like 30, 40, maybe even 100 hours of work into it. Other times it's like 4 hours. And the worst part is nobody can tell the difference until they see the views. But for example, my most viewed video in maybe the last 6-7 years is made in one night. And I didn't even stress that much about it. It's just all the shortcuts I took, the fact that I was using presets and things like that. I established the expectation there that in one night, what can I make that is good enough for me, maybe good enough for the audience, whatever. And I stuck to it, because if I expect the world out of one night, I'm gonna go really burned out. So we've talked about what burnout is, where it's coming from, and when it comes to video game musicians, I see people hoping that, by doing weekly videos or, by making a song every week or every month, I will stay in the YouTube game and keep up with the trends. I'm not gonna encourage or discourage that because I don't have all the statistics or whatever. There's no answer to it. Instead, I do want to point out that it depends on what your goal is. Because clearly, if you're after views and staying afloat, then yeah, there is some evidence to show that being consistent is important. And I, as a viewer, like seeing every Tuesday at noon the same person uploading. That's fine. Now, I think I want to share some of the advice I've been given, what to do when you are stuck and you don't want to freaking work on a song right now. I like to explore different hobbies, and I've noticed a lot of people share this too. I like running, just working out quickly or going outside even. I like taking pictures of videos and putting them together, joke videos and memes and things that YouTube hasn't seen or listened. Doing 10 seconds of a practice song puts the pressure so low because you're trying to get a laugh. So if they laugh because it sucks, that's great. If they laugh because it's funny, but you got to experiment with some new techniques, or maybe you were actually working pretty hard, it's okay. It's just something that no one has to see but your buddies. I want to thank a few of my friends. We started sending daily riffs. So we would just grab a guitar and then record whatever we could once a day. Just like a little melody or something. You can forget about it. Maybe you'll turn it into something. But the pressure is so low to just show 4 friends who are all doing the same thing. Everyone try that out too, especially if you can have the accountability with other people. I think it's a great way to get, engaged, the creative juices flowing. So in conclusion of all of this, I highly recommend you check out the article that I've linked in the description by Game Grooves. Huge thank you to everyone who's been talking to me, tweeting with me about all these different situations with burnout and creative block, writer's block. And most importantly, I think as long as we keep up the conversation and share tips and guides and create tutorials, share the education, and just find ways to make this process even easier, I'm sure that VGM and content creation as a whole will blossom. If you want to join the conversation, check out my Discord, like I said. Also, if you're having trouble, making music or music videos, please ask. I do read the comments and I try to answer at least all of the questions that I can. And most importantly, I'm trying to make tutorials now so that people can get started with recording, video editing, mixing, guitar tone stuff. So if you have a request for any of those, please leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to put something together. Especially if it's like an easy one, 3 to 5 minutes. I'd love to start filling this channel with all the knowledge I have or that other people have that I can steal